Welcome to the Reboot Chronicles, connecting you to the world's top leaders and CEOs rebooting their organizations and themselves with revealing stories to help you prosper in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean DeBias, and as a serial CEO who's led dozens of companies that created thousands of jobs and billions in revenue, my passion is uncovering powerful lessons that can inspire you to reboot your organization, your career, and your life. Listen and subscribe wherever you get podcasts or at rebootchronicles.com. I'd like to welcome Dr. BJ Han, the CEO of Silicon Box, to the Reboot Chronicles. With hundreds of millions of investments, Silicon Box is targeting an increasing need for semiconductor efficiency and sustainability with Chiplet technologies, which are smaller chips that are combined into a single package. One of the world's top technology leaders with over 300 patents, BJ has been on the forefront of revolutionizing the future of critical semiconductor industries. Now, in the middle of a massive company expansion, he is rebooting the next generation of semiconductors globally at scale with the newly opened $2 billion Singapore facility with the most advanced interconnection factory in the world running on self-contained power. And he will soon break ground on a new $3.6 billion facility in Italy, which I think will kickstart a European semiconductor renaissance. BJ, it's good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. Thank you for having me, Dean.
Yeah, you are a busy guy opening these massive foundries. I call them factories, but it's not for the faint of heart. You probably don't sleep much, would be my guess. What I love what you're doing to kind of transform the semiconductor industry with this innovative chiplet technology. And maybe we should just kind of back it up a little bit and start with that. What is chiplet? Why are you doing this? You could have done anything for your next venture. How'd you get this going?
Well, my co-founders and I have been talking about this more, many years actually, that we see some progress on SoC, which is ever integrating all the, functions into one chip, and which is great, and, over the time, and drove a lot of technologies into us. But like anything, if you go too far into the certain technology, there's we usually meet the limit of those technologies, right? So SoC today is like people are talking in that Moore's law is dead, and also many reasons that the same scheme for last 3-4 decades is not giving us any more progress in same rate we have seen. For example, 10 years ago, you used to see fab like 28, 14 nanometer, fab talking about $2 billion and $3 billion. Now, if you're looking at today's fab, everybody's talking about $20 billion and $30 billion. Which, if you really look at that,
to actually build the facility, you mean?
Yeah, to build and facilitate the facility.
Is that similar to the one that Intel announced that they were going to do in Ohio?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's if you invest like usually that one order of magnitude increase in 10 years is like unsustainable, which is one of the signs that SoC cannot sustain in terms of cost of progressing. And in that line of thinking, and we have been thinking that ever increasing or integrating density, or increasing density and integrating function is not only way to go. We have to come up with the most wiser way. And we have been talking about function to function to do put together. So practically, we were like a founder or inventor of a chiplet. So that's why we have so much passion of it. And the chiplet has, when you make the chiplet to a different function to put, put it in, different ICs or different chiplets, if you say. And then there's many advantages, because, if in SoC, every time you come up with the next generation, you have to redesign all the functions because you have to take maximum advantage of the increasing cost. But if you use a chiplet, for example, you don't have to develop every functionality into the SoC. For example, thinking process like a core processor can be going to the 5 nanometer and 3 nanometer, while a lot of these IOs and analog can stay in 14 nanometers. So a lot of this, different technology combination would give us number one, faster design cycle time because you don't have to redesign everything. Number two, the yield related cost is going significantly down because you use smaller chip, which is defect density tells you that you will have higher yield. On and on. You can use multiple different source of the technologies, and you don't have to always go complete everything with the most advanced technology foundries. So there are many advantages into that. To make it happen, you have to make the chiplet working like one chip, and you have to have some kind of die to die, chip to chip, or chiplet to chip communication protocol working. That's why people are working on PHY, SerDes, and even sometimes the internet, Ethernet to make this connections seamlessly. That's all IP. A lot of design is happening. You probably see people trying to make a say international standard like UCIe. I mean that make sure that they are communicating in the same protocol. So design side work is going on a lot.
Right.
The problem we see that is like okay, if you do the design, how do you physically put them together to make it work like seamlessly? And that is a challenge because design side is progressing a lot, and it took some time, but progressing a lot, and more work is going on. But actually, today, seamless chiplet integration is not existing today. Well, you can see NVIDIA's AI processors being manufactured in a way, but that's like one of the most famous one. But the manufacturing capacity, you hear a lot of noise about the cost and manufacturing. So that is probably the bottleneck we are facing together. Since we have been working on the birth of the chiplet, and then have the passion on the chiplet, we're
Right.
trying to find a way, and we finally end up doing it ourselves because we could not find the proper way out there in the market.
No, you've basically redefined and rebooted the category. You're making them smaller. For those of you aren't in the techie world, everything he's talking about is what powers your car, your phone, everything. Of course, he's developed that for decades now, all the technologies. But you're basically taking all these smaller, more integrated, more highly designed chips and then packaging them, like in the Italy facility. It's a lot of bringing them all together into one. What do you call it? One chiplet as the bigger piece, or the chiplet as the
We,
small?
we, we call it Chiplet as our
Okay,
the trademark name because collection of chiplet because we don't
perfect.
have a
Yeah, yeah.
proper name and there's no industrial proper name, so we just use it as
And
Chiplet.
you mentioned yield that might have gone over some people's heads. That's like the throwaway factor, right? You still have to throw away a lot of these in the manufacturing process because they're just not, they don't test out. Is that still a thing?
Well, actually, yield has been one of the critical success factor on this kind of say integration technology. A lot of people are happy with the 80%, 90% of yield. They, open the champagne. But if you really put this chiplet integration, you have to shoot for 99.8%, 99.9% to have a business working. It's a completely different kind of philosophy of
Wow,
making it
that's
work.
pretty
Yes,
high.
yes. So, and then, if you look at the packaging world usually, deal with that, 20 to 50 micron technology. And we need something like 1 to 10 micron kind of technology, which is,
Tiny.
feature is going down. And then, the yield has to go up even compared to the other packaging scale. So this is not easy challenge. That's why people are not, taking up as a possible route. But without that, chiplet dream doesn't come true
Triplet
in
dream doesn't
yeah,
fly. Can I
yeah.
can I ask you a basic question because I want to get into quantum and get your thoughts on that because I know you have some. But when you finally, you're investing heavily, though at a much lower cost than most of these fabs. But when you finally get the two facilities, at 100%, who are you competing with? Are you going to be an arms dealer to the AMDs and Intels and NVIDIA? Or are you like a supplier? Are you competing? How do you see the company evolving in the
I
market?
don't think we are competing. I think everybody's trying to improve the situation and try to make the chiplet working because that's probably only known path to continue our Moore's law, continue our integration. So everybody's working on it. Some people embrace more than other people, but there's no perfect solution today as far as I can see. Everybody's trying to do this way and that way. For example, a lot of like PCB industry, like build up kind of industry, is also working on it, and some success is there, but cannot come up with a successful technology because the future they can go into is not fine enough to have the chip to chip interconnection. And if you go to silicon technology and silicon through through VI and all those silicon substrate technology is also working on. People are working on it, but
Yeah.
that is not also perfect solution because the silicon is good for the fine feature, but the say panel size or substrate size is too small. It's like 300 millimeter limited, and also round. So as chiplet or simplet is becoming larger and larger, you end up having like few of those things into one wafer. So the industry has to come up with two things. Number one is you have to make fine features in the format of a large panel. Otherwise, the solution doesn't come up because if you look at wafer, try to integrate into the wafer as chiplet becomes larger and larger, which is what we see in AI area, and
Yep.
then you don't have many, and then you have come back to the same situation that the chiplet became too big, or what substrate became too big, and then yield becomes again the problem.
And when you look at the go-to-market side, verticals and applications, what's your best hope of where will this technology be embedded and used the most?
Well, we provide the solution of the chiplet problem we are facing today, and shooting for HPC, high performance
High
computing,
performance
as well as
computing. Mhm.
AI, which is only solution. But what is great about this technology, which I have been working on it, to make the same scheme to make conventional product like mobile and automotive, as well as some of the analog and RF, into
Yep.
the same tech manufacturing scheme. And before, those business could not afford this kind of technology alone. But now the infrastructure, once one infrastructure is built, if you can use about same cost of 5 micron technology as opposed to 50 micron technology, and we know in the this magic of semiconductor that future becomes smaller in it becomes
Hmm.
cheaper, right?
Right.
So all this thing that is becoming available once infrastructure is driven and becoming available, all technology we see in front in the even in legacy product can take advantage of. So that's something, my design, my dream. So if I see the competition, world is my competition. If I have collaboration, trying to solve the problem, world is my collaboration.
Yeah. Well, we're all about partnering and collaborating at Reboot here because it's just a great way to scale faster and solve people's problems. Is there a fit with these next gen chips into quantum? Could this drive quantum um, more efficiently?
Well, there are, I'm not expert of the quantum, but there are many, try and attempt to try to make a quantum. Answer is probably yes, because some people are trying to make a like a starting all the way from diamond to the all kind of different materials to develop the same results. The biggest dilemma of this quantum is that everything has to go down so cold temperature. So this material set we are dealing with, if people are using some materials like solid state material, including silicon, then this cold temperature is one of the barrier. Right?
Yes.
And you have to come up with the packaging scheme that can survive in the very cold temperature, right? Which is extreme cold temperature. We believe that we are getting there. We are actually working on some program in the space program, and which will go to pretty cold, if you
It's
will.
already cold out there in space.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we are getting close. I don't
Yep.
know enough that all the progress that we can do all the everything at the same time. But if they are solid state program, chances are yes.
You've raised amazing job raising hundreds of millions of dollars. What kind of investors do you have in the venture?
Well, we have investors, founders ourselves. Actually, we believe in so much. We actually put a
Yeah, and
lot
that
of.
your two founders are actually old friends. You guys have been together for quite
Yeah,
some
like a
time.
lifetime friend. We have been together like 40 some years. Somehow connected to family too in the long way. I
Oh,
mean
yeah, of
friendship.
course.
Yeah. So yeah, we have been working together, thinking together. Not really business, but more of the brainstorming together in the industry. So we are working on it. So founders, and then you go to say believers. Some of the believers that who is doing an investment themselves. So they actually believe us and then invest in us. Also, we have some of the customers. If you look at the portfolio that we have, UMC, Intel, Lam Research, customer business partners. You can see
Tata
TDK,
was in there, I think. Yep.
and Tata. Those group of investors are more like business partners in the supplying customer base.
Yeah, which I think
And
is
then,
critical.
then
Yep.
we have a pure say VC type of investors together. So we actually have pretty broad portfolio of our investment base.
And when do you think you'll be in market with some of the new technology?
We are already shipping products into the market.
Oh,
We are not huge volume, but we are ramping up as rapidly as we speak today. We are shipping some of the product going into the various different uh, you know industry or markets, like from consumer to automotive to wearable, as well as a space program.
and I love that you've done. You've committed to Italy, Singapore. What about the U.S.? Any thoughts about coming over here and building out something or converting
Well,
something, partnering with someone?
yeah, I mean everything is considerable. That US is possibilities, but I'd like to have a step by step. Number one, I'm trying to be a little bit you know say techie and business oriented.
Yes.
I don't know the politics. If I don't know the politics, I
Hmm.
probably don't want to approach the either side too quickly. So I'm just cautiously looking at it today.
Smart. Yeah. In the second half of this decade, or the back half as we call it, I'd say they're very friendly. A lot of investment going on over here, but conversation for another day. A lot of companies in your industry are having like supply chain issues, especially at the types of materials you need. How's that going? Is that a challenge for you?
Well, one of the great thing about for me is that we actually I've been in the industry almost 40 years. That I have gone through that good times and bad times, the supply shortage and this shortage, that shortage. the technology I'm building, is also all the collection of all this problem I have faced before, and we basically use say copper and dielectric, and we don't use anything else. So try to make it as simple as possible. And if there's a shortage of copper, then I'll have a problem. Some of the proprietary material we're using, which is pretty safe, we can use multiple sources at this point of time. So I don't see that, big risk in those areas. But other than that, I'm pretty safe on myself.
And how is AI helping you become more competitive? You're already lower costs. I don't know if it's just because you have smaller facilities or the more compact design, or it's more of assembly
We
that
we
you're.
are lower cost in a sense. Number one, we are our what we are doing is very simple. We are very much targeted on what we want to do. I don't want to make the gadgets that they can become serving many different things. We just do the packaging interconnect only. Right? So what we are doing is pretty simple. That's number one. Number two, we are making a much larger format than say either 300 millimeter, which is only solution to that 300 millimeter round. I have much larger square format, which is like usually 6 to 9 times bigger in terms of productivity. So my cost competitiveness comes from number one, simple manufacturing. Number two, that more productivity by having larger manufacturing format and standard manufacturing format. So it is like generic low cost, not like having better smart way of supply chain kind of thing.
Yeah, and you want that continuous improvement. I mean, you're trying to get back to a Moore's law kind of formula, which we seem to be. I don't know if the word's lost, but it's obviously run out of gas. Is there going to be a Hans law coming out of this?
No, I'm not doing that much of great successors, great inventors. But yes,
You
we are
you
we are we are
undersell yourself.
we are recovering. We are trying to recover. What industry has been going on, and we are actually, people are saying that the who's very familiar and an expert of Moore's law, which is I'm not, is saying that deployment of chiplet is actually accelerate the Moore's law, and then the Moore's law is, if chiplet is deployed, law is broken, not in downward, but is broken in the upward, because it's every 2 years becomes every 1.5 years, every 1 year. So it is at least for a while, in the next decade or two, we'll see it is accelerating Moore's law.
Yeah, those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Moore's law, one of the founders of Intel, that was the acceleration curve of how technology doubled
Yeah.
rapidly over and over and over again, which is what gave us all these fancy devices we have. Without that, we wouldn't have all these compact, fancy things. These
Yeah, we
chipsets.
are more like a tripling every 2 years.
Is that where we're at now?
I
Yeah.
think, yes, the chiplet is making it into that. Today we still have this doubling curve, being slightly slowed down, but we are recovering significantly with that, with the
Yeah.
chiplet.
Yeah, most people take it for granted. On those of you not on the video feed, I'm holding up, a pretty big Samsung device, but it's, massive power. This used to take up a whole room of space in the
Right, right.
60s when computers were huge. And what's been the biggest challenge of getting this going? You and your two founder partners have probably pivoted around a little bit, I would guess. But what's been the toughest thing you've faced?
What toughest thing in my point of view, is always people, and having
Uh,
enough good people is always a challenge. You know, I have given up of getting good people around some time ago. I tried to hire good potential people and then grow them as one of my strategy. As long as still looking for the good people. But uh, those are things that's the biggest challenge. And
Did you say?
when
Did
yeah.
you say you've given up? What did you say?
No, giving up is that good available people to
Okay.
be immediately boost up used for my product. Because if you
Yeah.
really look at us, we are doing something that people have not experienced in different industry. So when they come into my company and they have to relearn again a lot of things. So many cases, actually, the people with a good career and good say experience don't necessarily succeed in the new things.
Yeah. They're
So
stuck. They're
we're,
stuck in the old models.
yeah, so we're still looking at good people with good mind, but we're actually hiring a lot of young, talented people, and then train from fresh
Smart.
mind also. So we're doing both.
Yeah. Exactly. That makes a lot of sense. You've been on a long journey yourself. I mean, I used to run around Bell Labs when you worked back there in Murray Hill, New Jersey, and we've talked about that about on the show a lot. That used to be one of the U.S. national research treasures, and it's pretty much gone now. What's your journey been like? What kinds of challenges have you faced along the way that have shaped you into this risk taking titan that you are at this point?
Well, I actually had probably rather unique experience, and I'm very fortunate for that. After having college and the PhDs in US,
Hmm.
then I worked for this say that time the greatest institution of the research, and
IBM.
IBM Labs, yeah. And
Yeah.
then I learned a lot about these fundamentals of what we do. I was doing the research more like scientist kind of research rather than so much of application. So it built a lot of fundamental about a decade or so in those institutions. Gave me a lot of say ideas of what is needed, how we do, how to explore things. Then I had to come back to Asia in 1996, and then that's that time on. Then I was more of the development, more production development, and actually productization into the market. So then more of the packaging side of the world. So it is
Yep.
complete transition to me, and then very different work I've been doing. I had to say reboot and start my career all over again because it was not something that I was
I
doing.
bet. And you were
Yeah,
still young then.
yeah. So I was still young, so it was good things for me to have this say development and production and going into the market for about say 15 years or so. I was doing that in research, R&D, CTO, in the world. And after that, I became a CEO and the chairman of the company. And then it's more like management and marketing, all this, fundraising, all this, uh,
All the
uh,
fun stuff.
yeah, all the fun stuff.
Not
Work,
really.
yeah. And then, I learned that new things that when I deal with the customers, and I really do my best of keeping my word. When I gave the word to the customer, I delivered. So that is very, very important. When you say the investment, how we come up with the big investment is probably coming from the reputation, myself and my co-founders. When we say we deliver, this is very important characteristic in my view. If anybody's watching this video, I believe that young people should try to mimic that. In the industry, when you commit, you make sure you deliver. Your customer and your investors will love you and follow you. That your life is going to be much easier in later part. So that is like a lesson to me. Very, very different kind of lesson. And then I'm reboot.
You learned the whole life cycle on that reboot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I reboot myself doing this a startup company, which I have never experienced. I don't know. I'm thrilled to see what's going to be next in my life.
Oh, that's my favorite. You don't have a lot of gray hair for those of you that aren't on the video feed. You
I was
still look pretty.
I
You
was
look pretty young. Young.
fortunate to have the gene on that.
I love the commit and deliver for customer love. When you're hiring people for your company, what are you looking for in terms of
I
skills? In terms of
Yeah,
skill sets and character.
yes, I hire people with passion. I think it's very important. Especially the people who are in starting and the middle of career, they should have passion, right? Um, and then when you're working for the company that making the product, you have to have uh, passion in customer focus, right? So not the selfish passion, but you just say, I strive to deliver, what customer wants. And I believe it is very, very important. And, we should all realize that ourselves are our own customers.
Right.
I choose the product which I like, right? At the same time, if you produce something that, I'll build some product that I would buy. So that is really important, the circular, but very important characteristic of the people that to deliver in the product company.
Right. Thanks, BJ. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Dr. BJ Han on the Reboot Chronicles. This is Dean Tobias. Please listen, watch, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast or at rebootchronicles.com.